From our Chicago studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Samana Siddiqui. Our top story tonight. Defying the UN Security Council's ceasefire resolution passed on Monday, Israeli forces have continued their assault on Gaza. As many as 81 people have been killed and 93 wounded in the last 24 hours, according to the Palestinian Health Ministry. Among the casualties of an overnight bombing of a home in Rafah are 18 people, including 9 children. Additionally, an airstrike on the Abu Hasira home near Al-Shifa Hospital killed at least 30 people. As well, 12 Palestinians drowned while attempting to retrieve aid parcels dropped near Gaza's northern coast, with 6 more dying as a result of stampedes. Palestinian officials have decried these airdrops as inadequate and called for the opening of safer land crossings. Israeli airstrikes have struck over 60 targets across Gaza, primarily supporting ground forces and targeting buildings. The Israeli army says its operation at Gaza City's Al-Shifa Hospital continues, with troops killing several fighters and capturing weapons over the past day. At least 32,414 Palestinians have been killed and 74,787 wounded in Israeli attacks on Gaza since October 7th. The death toll in Israel from the Hamas attack on that date stands at 1,139, with dozens still held captive. A report by a UN rapporteur suggests there are reasonable grounds indicating that Israel has committed genocidal acts in Gaza. Francesca Albanese, the special rapporteur on Palestine, has found Israel's actions violating 3 of the 5 acts mentioned under the UN Genocide Convention. These are killing members of a group, causing serious bodily or mental harm to the group's members, and deliberately bringing physical destruction. Albanese accuses Israel of intent to physically destroy Palestinians as a group through its assault on Gaza. The findings are listed in the UN report entitled Anatomy of a Genocide. Israel has swiftly rejected the document and its findings, calling it an obscene inversion of reality. Israel has already been accused of genocide at the International Court of Justice. An interim ruling in January ordered Tel Aviv to stop genocidal acts and take measures to guarantee that humanitarian assistance is provided to civilians in Gaza. Most of the humanitarian aid materials dropped to northern Gaza fell into the sea on Monday. Some Palestinians who struggled to reach the aid received CPR at the coastline. The Israeli war has pushed 85% of Gaza's population into internal displacement. This is amid acute shortages of food, clean water, and medicine. According to the UN, 60% of the enclave's infrastructure has been damaged or destroyed. The Biden administration has endorsed Israel's use of U.S.-supplied weapons in its war on Gaza, despite concerns about potential violations of international law. This decision contradicts previous court rulings suggesting Israel's actions could amount to genocide. The endorsement follows assurances from Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, prompting the U.S. State Department to affirm Israel's compliance with international humanitarian law. Secretary of State Antony Blinken had until Monday to certify Israel's adherence to guidelines preventing arms transfers for potential human rights abuses. Critics, including Palestinian-American analyst Yusuf Munayyer, have condemned the U.S. stance as scandalous. The State Department, however, maintains its assessments of Israel's conduct in Gaza continue to inform their perspective. Former President Donald Trump says Israel needs to be careful in its ongoing war on Gaza. He admits that Israel is losing a lot of the world's support. Speaking to the Israeli daily newspaper Hayom, Trump says Israel has to finish its war on Gaza, engage in a peace plan, and restore normal life in Israel. Despite his support for Israel's war, Trump has criticized scenes of destruction in Gaza, saying it is a bad picture for the world. He is urging Israel to draw the fighting in Gaza to a close. California governor shows solidarity with Arab, Palestinian, and Muslim Americans calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. Details after the break, so stay tuned and we'll be right back. Welcome back. California Governor Gavin Newsom is calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, becoming the first state governor in the U.S. to do so. He made the statement in an open letter of support to the state's Arab, Palestinian, and Muslim communities, in which he also acknowledged the month of Ramadan. He wrote, "I support President Biden's call for an immediate ceasefire as part of a deal to secure desperately needed relief for Gazan civilians and the release of hostages." He continued, "I also unequivocally denounce Hamas's terrorist attack against Israel. It is time to work in earnest toward an enduring peace that will furnish the lasting security, autonomy, and freedom that the Palestinians and the Israeli people both deserve." Amid reports of rising Islamophobia and anti-Arab racism across the United States, Newsom praised the two communities' contributions to California's fabric. He has also pledged to combat rising hate crimes against Muslims and Arabs in the state. Newsom's statement emerged after months of criticism by advocates for a ceasefire that the governor was not even-handed in his stance on Israel's war on Gaza. Over 60% of likely voters in California support an immediate ceasefire, according to a poll released last month by the Public Policy Institute of California. A Data for Progress poll last month found that 67% of American voters across the country support the U.S. calling for a permanent ceasefire and a de-escalation of violence in Gaza. The Council on American Islamic Relations Washington chapter is urging the University of Washington to condemn a recent case involving hate mail. A letter targeting the Seattle Somali Student Association, or SSA, sent during Ramadan contained derogatory language and called on members of the organization to go back to their country. The SSA has filed a police report about the incident. It has also scheduled a demonstration for Thursday. CARE attributes the incident to SSA's activism against Israel's ongoing war on Gaza, which has killed over 30,000 Palestinians since October. CARE Washington's executive director, Imran Siddiqui, has asked the university to stand firm against anti-Muslim bigotry. The Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore collapsed early Tuesday after being struck by a cargo ship. At least 7 people, including workers on the bridge, were submerged in the Patapsco River. 2 individuals were rescued, with 1 in critical condition. Director of Communications for the Baltimore City Fire Department, Kevin Cartwright, says the incident may have resulted in approximately 20 people falling into the river, along with multiple vehicles. Authorities are conducting a thorough search involving divers, helicopters, and sonar technology. The incident prompted Maryland Governor Wes Moore to declare a state of emergency, with federal resources being deployed. The vessel involved collided with a bridge pillar. While the cause remains under investigation, authorities say there is no indication of intentional or terrorist involvement. Congress has approved an additional 12,000 special immigrant visas for nationals of Afghanistan who helped the U.S. during its 2-decades-long war there. But advocates say more visas are needed, noting that the current number falls short by 20,000 through this program. Called Operation Allies Welcome, it offers these Afghans a path to permanent residency and citizenship in the United States. Approximately 88,000 Afghan nationals arrived in the U.S. after the war and have resettled in communities across the country through the program. The U.S. and its allies left Afghanistan in August 2021. This was after close to 20 years of war against the Taliban there. The Justice Department says it will prosecute 20 individuals for threatening election workers since 2020. Over half a dozen have resulted in jail sentences of more than a year. The announcement comes amid rising concerns of election denialism, especially in Arizona, where claims of fraud persist. A man was recently sentenced for threatening the state's governor, Katie Hobbs, in 2022. The Justice Department's Election Threats Task Force was formed in 2021 to respond to threats related to 2020 election denialism. It stresses the importance of upholding the rule of law and protecting election integrity. The department also aims to deter threats and violence against election workers. It says such actions undermine democracy and are not protected rights. In related news, NBC's appointment of a controversial Republican official who has challenged the legitimacy of the 2020 election is raising questions within the network. Former Republican National Committee Chair Ronna McDaniel has also supported former President Donald Trump's election subversion attempts. As a result, critics say she lacks credibility due to her prioritization of party interests over national democracy. They are calling into question NBC's decision to grant her a platform, even as the network welcomes partisan voices. A federal judge has rejected social media platform X's lawsuit against the hate speech watchdog Center for Countering Digital Hate, or CCDH. X had alleged that CCDH's reports caused it significant financial damages. The organization had highlighted the prevalence of hate speech on the platform. This case is being considered as pivotal for accountability on X, reflecting Musk's policy shift towards allowing controversial figures back onto the platform. Over 100 civil society organizations have signed a declaration expressing concern over the escalating presence of Hindu supremacy, known as Hindutva, in the United States. The declaration was issued by Savera, a coalition of Indian American and partner civil rights groups. They are highlighting the alignment of Hindu supremacist movements with the American far right. They stress that Hindutva is posing a threat to democracy and pluralism. Signatories, including prominent groups like the Movement for Black Lives and Jewish Voice for Peace, have pledged to combat the spread of Hindu supremacy by rejecting supremacist politics, standing against Islamophobia, and caste discrimination. They have also pledged to advocate for human rights and support inclusive visions of Indian American identity. The statement followed Savera's recent report titled The Global VHP's Trail of Violence, which comprehensively outlined the damaging impact of the U.S.-based Hindu supremacist movement. That's all from our Chicago studios tonight. Muslim Network TV invites you to join us for our Ramadan Telethon 2024, which is taking place on Saturday, April 6th from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Central Time. So stay tuned. This Ramadan, your support is needed more than ever to continue our mission of providing informative, educational, and inspiring content to Muslims in North America and around the world. Donate now by calling 1-800-432-4262. You can also use the Zelle app for easy payments by sending to info@soundvision.com or visit muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Salam and good night.